Hey, this is Tracy Lewis with Stuff and Things, and today's video is going to be a walkthrough. It is going to be using Dragonfly Garden, which is a very fine line stamp set, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the best way to get some good stamping out of it. And I'm going to be talking through a card that is a little bit different than what I would normally do, and I'll give you some tips on that. So, this is the card. Each of these strips is 1 inch wide. I love cards where I'm using the DSP, but using it in a way that isn't like wasteful, I guess. Efficient use of DSP. That's probably the best way to term it. So this particular card, you'll notice right off the bat it only has 1 dot, so you might be saying, why does she only have 1 dot, and why is there no trim on it? And I will reveal that in a minute. So when stamping these very fine lines, all I can say is that you want to put the stamp, here's an example stamp, when you apply it evenly, press straight down, and maybe give it a little wiggle, because if you have it crooked at all, it will be heavier on the side that you're crooked on. So for instance, this wishing you all the best, I kept getting it heavy on the bottom. So that's where in order to get it to be even, I had to come down, straight down, with holding all 4 corners of the block, press it on, and then give it a little wiggle and straight up. So those are my tips on fine line stamps. The same thing applies for the non-sentiment stamps like these little dragonflies and the flowers. The inside, one thing I'm not good at talking about, which I decided to step back and do a complete card walkthrough, is the inside stamp. In this case, I had to be very careful again, and I'm going to be really picky on this and tell you that I see darker on the cone flowers and this little bit here, as well as this side. So I wasn't quite perfect on my even stamping, but when you're stamping on the card itself, you get 1 time. So just be careful with these. They are really beautiful. Love the detail in them, but they're a little bit trickier to stamp than your typical width of stamps. So now we're going to talk about why is there only 1 dot and no ribbon or trim. And that is because I made this a belly band. So you slip on the band. It covers the sentiment, and it has the trim and 2 more dots, making the whole card story complete. And the tips for bands, this is only, I don't know, my 2nd belly band in many, many years, is these tips came from Libby, and that is that you close the band and then you apply your focal to the front on the side with the band so that it is hidden. And I had stamped this image, actually both of these images were stamped on a bigger piece and trimmed down. So that is another trick to making your stamping. If you're doing like a scene like these, stamp it on a bigger piece, knowing that you're going to trim off parts of the image on the edges. So be sure to focus on knowing part of your big stamps are going to go off the image, and then, or off the space of the cardstock. And then these guys, I actually had planned on putting some above and some below, but when I stamped this one, I stopped. So don't forget to leave some white space. The white space is really important aesthetically, and I didn't even know that I was going to put this trim here at the time. I knew I was going to put it somewhere. So if you have your image so full of stamping that there isn't a good place to put trim or embellishments, then you get frustrated, I guess. It's frustrating to try to figure it out. So I always try to stop a little sooner than later. All right, so I roughed up the edges, and the belly band, I have noticed, is actually flattening these edges. So in hindsight, now that I'm done with the card, I would have probably not roughed up the edges, had I known that the belly band is going to unrough the edges. But it still is a really neat effect, and I like the monochromatic look and the detailing. When I picked my 3 DSPs, I was going for a lot of detail, so I mimicked that on the sentiment layer and on the belly band decorative layer. Then finally, I don't want you to forget the envelope. So this envelope was really quick. It was the thing I did last, and you'll notice there's some smudges, and there's even a little tiny mark here. When I'm working on envelopes, you know, they're going to go through the mail. This area is going to get a stamp. It's going to have the return address and the sending address. And so if I have little flaws like that on the envelopes, I don't worry too much about it. And I didn't put any, oh, there's a big smudge, but I'm going to still send it. I will still send envelopes like that and not even worry about it. It gives it the authentic handmade look, as we say. All right, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, leave them on my blog or on the YouTube video comments. Please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.